Three, two, one, and now we live. We live. Hold on. Yes, and they all say online. They work. I couldn't get the IG popping, but we back again. Whoop, whoop. Yes, and we back again. So I'm gonna let like fast 5 minutes go by while I do the house cleaning as we let everybody come and join us in this conversation. I want to thank everybody on this good Saturday evening at 7 p.m. If you did get a chance to see the flyer, we are talking about Obama, your mama. Word. Want drama. So your boy, if you are here with us today, Gilded Sages, can you please like the video? Comment, which is super important. And if you are watching, there is also a link there to call in. We're gonna go and try to get quickly through this agenda. Hopefully, I don't get too into my fit and on the pulpit because we talk about my boy, or not my boy, Barack Obama. He having fun. He's having fun. Because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm tired of the king of blackface coming on here, the king of black, trying to silence black dissent. And so let me check my Facebook a little bit while we go here. If you are on Facebook, there is a link there. And if you are on YouTube, there is a link there. And for all of my people on IG, please go over to subscribe to YouTube so that you can get the notifications and so that you can access the links that we post. Because it helps us. It really does help. We can't post the links to IG because unfortunately IG is a little slut muffin like that. And we need to engage. We really want to engage. Do. Like it matters. Like engaging with you all is a part of the democratic process. So my thing in doing this as a Gilded Sage, as a sage, one, I like symposiums because how symposiums go, but it's also about getting to know people to also know yourself. Knowing your neighbor is knowing yourself because then you know what environment you live in. Absolutely. And so while we go through that, again, if you're watching, you can like the video, please help share the video. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the first article because I want to. We give you 5 minutes? I don't know if it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's not. But I love and appreciate everybody who fall in. But in respect to all of the people's time who is in here in the room already with us, we're going to get started. And this will be on playback for everybody. I'm not deleting this. No, I don't care. I don't care because I'm sick of it. What they going to do? Call Tom Perez on me and all they DNC thugs? Let's go. I don't know that guy. I don't listen to the DNC. Hey, I'm independent. Last time I checked, I think they switching out leadership. So I'm gonna check in on that. But you never know. Sometimes when you get switched out leadership, it's a promotion. But let me go ahead and share this screen real quick with y'all because we're going to go ahead and get into it real quick because I want to talk about your boy Barry. He made some comments. He made some comments about people being snappy as it relates to quote unquote sloganeering. And I've had some people who have disagreed with me, and I have some people who have agreed. But the issue that I have with him in particular, having an issue with sloganeering, as if you saw the image that I put out, Barack Obama is a person who engages in a lot of sloganeering. Go figure. Yes, we can is one of them. I have a few others up on the actual image. War on drugs, trickle down. There's many others in terms of the things that I think were more problematic as it pertains to what he said, a lot of Democrats are losing their seats. So, go ahead.
So you're saying in 2021 we're not going to get invited to any cookouts?
We're not getting invited to any cookouts.
So that means in 2021 I don't have to fake like people. Okay.
No, you don't, kind sir.
I love Barry. I love Barry. No, I love Barry. Because I'm not talking about him as the 44th president. I'm talking about his persona as the 44th president. You know what I love about Barry? Barry likes to be the agreeable black guy that everyone wants to be friends with. Barry is the type that goes like, yeah, I'm the darky you can like. Not only that, he's also the darky that I will keep other darkies in tone. And like I use that word darky not lightly. And I just read Alice Walker's, you know I'm doing America's Nurse, right? So I just read Alice Walker's inserts of Zora Neale Hurston, and I was looking at how Langston Hughes, or a snippet that Professor Hill, a scholar, Dr. Walker, put inside of her essay in the 1970s. Yes. And it really talks about how when you talk about the racial mountain and when you talk about colorism, the color line, how you can really do a lot of blackface, or how a lot of black faces can wear white masks. And what I love about Barry is that he shows his understanding of American pop culture. Yeah. Because he used, and this is why I call him Barry. It's like, son, at his press conference, he says, I got 99 problems and Jay-Z is one. Long before we got to this point. So you can see that Barry doesn't care too much about black culture as long as it feeds into his political clout. He good. Jay-Z is one. Long before we got to this point. So you can see that I like myself so goddamn well. I was listening on playback. Look at that, right? My man self ad-libbing.
It is what it is, man. I apologize.
Ricky Roseanne here.
I want to be able to comment and mingle with the people while I'm watching this. But as we go into it, first piece of what we getting into is let's talk about it. Your boy Obama, as y'all see up here on the screen, we are talking about you lose people with snappy slogans like defund the police. Now, I will preface this with, I thought defund the police was a stupid slogan either because I'm not a fan of the left. I'm not a fan of anything they do. I feel like they're fake opposition. I feel like they are ops put there to make us believe in things that we
Did you
call
say ops?
Ops.
Yes.
That's the term I've been seeing around these streets.
Ops.
But
is that short for op? Is that short for opportunity or optics? Because they all about
optics and operatives
and opportunists.
Yeah,
ooh, we got all types of ops in here.
Exactly.
Ops.
Y'all playing games in that.
But today we're gonna talk about, again, as y'all see, slogans like defund the police. And as we just said, our boy Obama, Barry Rock,
I love Barry,
is a fan of slogans. So we're gonna read, usually we get the highlights, but we're gonna just go through this. Former President Barack Obama said political candidates lose support when using snappy, quote unquote, slogans like defund the police, quote unquote, in an interview scheduled to be released Wednesday. Obama told Peter Hamby, who's hosts a Snapchat political show, Good Luck America, that those who use the slogan could jeopardize their goals of enacting meaningful reforms for police. You lost the big audience the minute you say it, which makes it a lot less likely that you're actually going to get the changes you want done, the former president said in an interview scheduled to go live on 6 a.m. Wednesday, according to Axios. The key is deciding, do you want to actually get something done, or do you want to feel good among the people you already agree with, Obama added. Echo chamber. Echo. The former president's comments align with other top Democrats who have considered the phrase to be damaging to the Democratic Party. House Majority Whip James Clyburn, who also was complaining about Biden not putting in black people into the administration, side live. Last month, he believed the slogan hurt some Democratic candidates, like Representative Joe Cunningham, who lost Rep-elect Nancy Mace.
Let me table this for a second right there. This discussion. and remind me of this. What I hear from that is that they're trying to come up with a narrative that'll help explain why they don't have control between Constitution and independence, which is for people who aren't inside of the Beltway, the capital. They trying to explain why some of their budget things won't go through.
And
towards their base.
Before we get
that's why I said table. We're gonna table.
You know, Obama also promoted the concept that younger voices in politics should be amplified, commenting on Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking time at the Democratic National Convention. One thing I will say about the Democratic Party is that promoting young people is really important, he said, according to the Axios. Oh, okay. So as we finish up that, I'm going to stop the share for a hot second, and we're going to talk about what Obama had to say. First off, Obama is the absolutely wrong person to be talking about the problems with sloganeering. Hope, change, and yes, we can, which we'll get into later, are all things that have not manifested and that have caused the Democratic Party. Because again, he came into a DNC with the House and the Senate, and I believe that lack of delivery
on what?
Hope, change, yes we can, because nothing happened. We got poorer. We lost more because we're going to get into too big to fail and all of those nonsensical slogans that the Democratic Party, the moderates, the fake wannabe GOPs do support actually mean anything. Now, what I'll say to his point is, yes, it was a dumb slogan. AOC and the squad, quote unquote, they say a lot of things. And politically, you have to be astute enough to know that your messaging and your marketing has to be clear to not be exploited in that way. But what I will say in their defense, even though I do not want to defend them, if the conversations were being had in good faith, if the conversations were being had in a honest manner, you know, there's these political think tanks, there are these political analysts, there are these political strategists, there are these journalists, there are a whole ecosystem of people who can break down what defund the police meant. I've seen a number of people explain and articulate different points, which is, again, an issue with messaging, as you have to be a monolith, as you have to be cohesive. Again, I say the same thing about the Black community. Anything around marketing has to be cohesive in that way, or it does not stick. Defund the police, Black Lives Matter, same thing. We won't get into that later because we all know your boy Barack supported Blue Lives Matter. But what I would like to say about the words that he had for the left and putting on young people and speaking to the issue of it, what I don't see is we have a Barack Obama who undermined, according to the New York Times and to the Politico, the campaign of Bernie Sanders by soliciting people to drop out, which I think has prompted a lot of these left naive, dumb people to be upset because they thought that they were going to get put on by Joe Biden. But again, we're going to get into some more slogans. War on drugs, which was a very, very, very pivotal slogan as we talk about niggas.
Just say no.
That's another one.
But go ahead.
But with hope and change, we got to think about 2008 America or pre-2000 America, which for a lot of Gen Z is we all old enough to remember pre-9/11. We are old enough to remember pre-9/11. America was a lot more relaxed pre-9/11. 9/11 up to 2003, before we really called the conflicts in the Afghanistan conflicts, we were talking about the war on weapons of mass destruction here. And what I'm getting to is with Barry, you got to understand in 2008, he represented the zenith of America overcoming all of his legacy of segregation, of Jim Crow. That's what Barry was supposed to represent, and that's what he was marketing towards. That was the hope. That was the change that was going to come, because when Barry got in office, it was going to be a black man, quote unquote, who was going to change the way the swamp works, the way the Beltway works, because he had that, and he was young, straight out of Chicago, right? But here's what we don't. Here's what's not talked about with Barry: Bill Clinton's legacy, in which you have Glass-Steagall being broken, and that how you have more people roped inside of the financial market. So by the time that Barry takes over, he is in a Democratic Party that is corporate. Mm-hmm. So he's in a corporate Democratic Party. And we know how corporatism works. Mm-hmm. Corporatism is like, hey, look, don't rock the boat. Just sell the people what it is they already want. We know what it is they want. We got the information. Let's just sell people them and tell them that they're special, and not just necessarily tell them how we cutting it. Everybody like they're dope, but we just not going to tell them to cut. And that's what the DNC does, is that the DNC, and I say it all the time, I call them the baby GOP. It's like they look at the GOP.
Can we say wannabe GOP and not baby? Because they aren't posing any opposition is in the way that the GOP would. They not thorough like that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so
they want to be.
Then I don't even want to say want to be. Then they like the GOP cheerleaders. Then it's like, oh, I'll put it that way. It's like you got a cheerleading squad that want to play on the field, and the players on the field are like, no. And what I mean by that is that when you look at industry, you look how nations really use their power and leverage their power. We can see that industry matters, because that's what GOP talks about, industry. It's when you get to the DNC, you start talking about corporatism, because then you're talking about professionalism. And why that matters is that when you talk about industry, you're also talking about working class people. The DNC does not talk about working class people, but the DNC does. The DNC says everyone should be exceptional. We're exceptional. You're exceptional. All you got to do is be like us, and you'll be exceptional too. And accepted and loved, then all you gotta do is go to Dartmouth and Harvard and Yale. All you gotta do is make sure you say the words the right way, get your tone correct. Please don't offend anyone. Someone may be insulted by the way you're talking about them. We don't want to offend anyone, because offending people is wrong. It's like, no, I'm actually in spaces that are diverse and intellectual, and I'm gonna get to you. I'm in spaces where there's actual intellectual diversity. The GOP has far more intellectual diversity than the DNC. They do. You want to know why I say the GOP has far more intellectual diversity? It's because they all rebels. They all think they can do what the hell they want.
Intellectual diversity or ideological diversity?
Intellectual diversity. And here's why I made the difference between that. Is that we can all have the same ideology, but approach it differently. And intellect is way more personal than ideology. Because ideology is more like a cult. Intellectual is more like literally we are in a group and we all kind of think the same, but we're not. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because I like to make the distinction in the long term.
Just to add on to what you were saying, like the biggest thing for me with the DNC is, we're going to be super progressive until we start talking about Black people. Then all the progressiveness is just like, can't go there.
Because they don't want to
can't go there.
They don't want to pay for it. Yeah, I agree. They don't want to pay for it.
We can be super feminists, but we're not talking about women poverty. We're not going there.
Name one corporation that talks about poverty.
Can you?
Patagonia is the closest I can get to. The closest. Fashion. You know what? I'll give this to the fashion industry. The fashion industry is far more critical of itself than most industries.
I can say that because it's part of their sustainability in terms of building, in terms of longevity.
Gotcha.
Fashion is trend, and existing in an industry where trends sometimes dominate over the
That's what
longevity
and fashion go together. Literally.
The thing with politicians is they're not understanding, and we're gonna get into next because again, speaking about longevity goes into history, and longevity goes into what people have done before you and what people will do after you.
Predecessor, successor,
yeah,
those words.
And so what I wanted to bring up, because I got a lot of articles today, because I don't really got time to argue with you people about y'all fanboy stands over Barack Obama. But what we're going to get into next is we're going to talk about another slogan. Everybody, just voted for Joe Biden, who was the vice president of Barack Obama, the whole United States of America, because it got put on blast. Because see, what people didn't know at first, was that Joe Biden, Uncle Joe, quote unquote, was Jim Crow Joe. He had a deep, dark past of nigger hating. Yes.
He had to put it that way.
And Obama,
he emphasized it,
loved the nigger hater. And when you talk about Obama and his book, he talks about how his mother also has some nigger hater in her, and how he reconciled with that, and how he compromised with that, and how that led him to rebuke his pastor. Right.
Did he use his mama and reverend? He sounded like an Eminem move. He threw him under the bus.
He threw him under the bus. But let's get it. But let's get into it.
But didn't he talk about his mama with his stepdaddy in Indonesia in his first book?
He talked about all of that, and this is why I don't understand. We got the black elite and bourgeoisie caping for your boy.
But Bernie silenced the women that came out and said he wasn't dating black women until he wanted to go into politics because he was dating white women.
Yes.
Yeah. He silenced those articles. So it sounds like the DNC has a history of silence of women. They say protect black women, but they silence white women. You know what I'm talking about, the one that Joe touched?
Yeah. What was her name? I wanted to say Tamara, but shit, they didn't silence her so good. I forgot her name.
So the DNC shows that you can silence white women and black women.
Man.
As long as
anybody. They killed Jeffrey Epstein.
I thought Trump would have done that.
Shit, it's bipartisan.
Trump and them don't care. They like, nigga, we just gonna get them off anyway. Like, kill people. Why would we do that? I'm sorry.
No, be good. That's funny something.
Okay. It's just jokes. Let's go back. As Joe Biden says, it's just jokes.
Don't
joke time.
Kill us, but don't kill us. The DNC is fake.
This is just satire.
Because we about to get into war on drugs.
I got you.
Sloganeering. Mr. Obama. How do we come into this? Did war on drugs maybe losing Democratic seats? Let's find out. What the fuck is the war on drugs? Huh? What is the war on drugs? Okay. What is the war on drugs? Does anybody know what the war on drugs is? Man, drop it in the chat. If you know what the war on drugs is, how it functions, and what it's supposed to do, please let me know. I'm still in confusion. Because everybody's still on drugs. Man. Everybody's still on drugs.
Better. They making the money off the drugs.
Man.
Well,
hey, that's documented. That is documented. But hey, when we here, let's go. They say Google is your friend. So the war on drugs is a phrase used to refer to a government-led initiative that aims to stop illegal drug use. Oh shit, people still illegally using drugs. And guess what? The data and statistics show that white people use the drugs more than the niggas that they locked up. So, distribution in any trade by dramatically increasing prison sentences for both drug dealers and users. Do we all know about the penalization of crack versus crack cocaine.
Cocaine versus.
I was gonna say hard versus powder.
The powder. Yeah.
Excuse me, this is why I have great men around me. Thank you, correct me.
Yeah. It's hard versus powder.
Yeah.
Crack cocaine and crack is same.
It's the same thing.
But it's niggas drugs. It's poor people do that.
Because that's the only niggas who do that. So,
only poor people do that.
My question is,
crack is whack. That's a double slogan.
what was the initiative that just came on the ballot in DC?
81.
81. And what did that refer to? Shrooms, psychedelics. Apparently, niggas is using these illegal drugs because they trying to get them on the ballot so they can be legalized. I know some niggas is using them because wouldn't nobody try to get something on the ballot that they weren't using. But, okay, let's go.
It's saying people who are that lazy.
The movement started in the 1970s and is still evolving today, which is December the 5th, 2020. Over the years, I don't know, people have mixed reactions to the campaign. Because guess what? Like Obama said, I don't know what the fuck it is. What is it?
What is it?
War on drugs. What are we having a war on? Because I see, hold on, we saw, thank you to Antonio Moore, Iran-Contra scandal with Freeway Rick Ross, that the CIA was making money off of it. What are you talking about, Obama? Help me understand, Mr. Black Parental God, Black Jesus.
Oh, come let us adore him.
That's always some Republicans.
Because he never get into it. I don't know what's going on. I need Barack Obama to tell me which slogans work and which slogans don't work. Because last time I checked, was Joe Biden not his vice president? Did he not say he sent like 9 attorneys and a whole staff of people to look into Mr. Joe Biden? Did he not say that? That was his word.
But you do know, you do understand that he silenced free thinkers. Chris Hedges, he silenced them.
I was about to say.
That lawsuit, it went somewhere.
But we're going to get into that because that's the whole Blue Lives Matter conversation. We're going to talk about how he amped them up and how he silenced Black Lives Matter, but you got Black Lives Matter, people still sucking them off. I don't get it. The war on drugs begins. Drug use for medicinal and recreational purposes has been happening in the United States since the country's inception. In the 1890s, when niggas were still slaves. Technically, or not technically, because we saw that it lasted up into the 1950s.
Oh, if you
Season robot catalog included an offer for a syringe and small amount of cocaine.
We got someone in the waiting room. Someone zero is in the waiting room.
And let me see. Mr. Robert. Okay, I'll get to him.
Okay.
In some states, laws to ban or regulate drugs were passed in the 1800s. The first congressional act was to levy taxes on morphine and opium. We saw what happened to the opium crisis and the current opioid crisis, not to be confused, because opium was around World War II in that era when veterans were coming back, and that was spiked around that time. Opioid is more current. I would say 90s through current.
I was thinking about when the British gave opium to the Chinese.
Yeah, that was weird because I always thought it came from.
No, it comes from Afghanistan.
But what I'm gonna do is
that region.
I'm going to admit. Let me see. We have some participants. Oh no, what happened to our participant? Well, it is what it is. You could go ahead and call in right now if you are watching so that we can, hear your take on it. And, if you agree, if you disagree, I would love to hear why you have the particular stance that you do. But while I wait for call-ins to happen, I just want to hear your take on the war on drugs, man. I feel like that was a very, very pivotal slogan, a slogan that hasn't necessarily manifested as we still, have a lot of drug traffic to this day. And I think the war on drugs had caused not only Biden a lot of votes, but a lot of down ballot Democrats a lot of votes because Joe Biden participated in the war on drugs, manufactured, transitioned mass incarceration on the back of war on drugs, out GOP members as it relates to war on drugs. And Barack Obama co-signed it, but now he comes out talking about how, these defund the police slogans are garbage.
Okay. Got you. I hadn't set down my glass because I was colliding and had to unpack it. So this is where I would have to give my honest, sincere thank you to the sincere left. The liberal class that still lives after Chris Hedges talks about the death of the liberal class, those who didn't sell out to corporatism. And it's not, I don't hate corporations. I just hate how our corporations operate and think at the moment in time. That is to say is that we have to remember, as Barack and Michelle sell us this Harry and Meghan Markle story of Victorian upper middle class values, who Barack is actually speaking to. He's really the Jaden Smith of politics, if you want to be real, if you think about the historical legacy of America. We have to be honest about why Barack is coming out about sloganeering. It's getting traction. They're working. People who are sincerely re-educating, edifying, educating America about America's actual history, our long history and legacy in America of people coming from all different sectors saying we tired of the exploitation. Those people are literally changing how people think, treat, and act towards each other. And we talk about this all the time here, and how deep the legacy of American capital is caught up in the exploitation of the census. Because when we talk about race, you're really talking about the census. Because when we talk about the census, we also understand that the census is tied to the Electoral College. The census is not only tied to the Electoral College, it's also tied to these measures that we make for federal dollars and budgets. That's why it's so important for people to understand. It's like when you have a Berry, because again, I'm referring to him as Berry, this persona that's saying, oh no, if you act like me, you can make it. Just be like me. It's the same thing as a Ronald Reagan saying, like, yeah, if the rich people get more money, everybody get more money, right? It's trickle down. I got the berry juice. I got the berry sauce. Just flick your wrist like berry. We can all make it from above the arc and just be like me. Like I said the last time. It's the same thing as, I forgot his guy, Hillhopper, That Is So Young Brother. It's a whole marketing scheme inside of books. This is why people need to understand the book industry ain't no damn different from any other industry. You gotta pick through books to see which one is a good one. Not all books are good. Some books is like, yo, you are not worth a tree dying.
So you said academia is on the same exchange.
What I'm saying is, and I'm referring to Black America. Black America has a really bad problem with tokenism. Black America has a really bad problem with living vicariously. Black America has a really bad problem with not seeing poor whites and not wanting to see poor whites. Black America has a bad problem with being an ally because, and I say Black America, not Black people. Here's the difference. Black America is often viewed through the white lens. Toni Morrison playing inside of the dark, playing in imagination, racism in America. You all got Toni Morrison. This was released by Harvard, guys. Toni Morrison, and you also have my man Joshua Bennett, Sir Joshua Bennett on Instagram talking about it with his new work, Property Once Myself. My whole point is that the problem we face often is that Black people define themselves based upon the tropes that white people accept. In which you have the boys talking about the veil or the double consciousness. What Berry does is that Berry pretends that, and I call him the Booker T. Washington of the day, he pretends that everyone has the same access he had. He pretends that everyone has the same level of social capital that he did. That's why I am always a bigger fan of Michelle Obama. Why? Because Michelle Obama always tells that truth about what it means to be an inner city Black child that is able to understand what's going on, but she speaks from a different era. I would love a Michelle Obama without the political veil she has to speak from. Mm-hmm. I would love a Michelle Obama after she releases her autobiography way beyond her passing so that we can get a real look. Because what I love about Michelle Obama is that she does not sanitize things. She goes, when she says goes above it, she articulates what's the truth, but she removes the venom from it. And Barry, and with this one, what Barry does is that he puts the venom right back in to these dog whistle ass things, because what he does, he uses the fact that he has his ancestry and what his ancestry is and his phenotype to say things that a white man wouldn't be able to get away with. Mm-hmm. Take Barack's slogans and put them inside Donald Trump's mouth and see how you feel about it.
You're
pretty much.
And with that being said, you know my stance on Michelle Obama. She cool, but
Michelle is the political person. Yeah,
she don't denounce that heathen of a man.
She can't expect
that. I know. It's all.
They come from a different era.
She comes from a different era. He comes from a different world.
Yeah, that is true.
He co-opts her Blackness.
This is true.
Yeah,
I would agree to that.
To add on to his, and that's the most insidious part of it all. That's why I was like, you the king of blackface, nigga.
Yeah,
because
fireballs.
You have no stake in it outside of, like you said, understanding the pop culture aspect of it. I don't think Barack Obama cares two shits about what Michelle Obama has come from, what she's had to live through, and all of those things.
How even as Barack Obama, not the political figure, but as a man, he made because I will give him this. And again, like you just whatever. I'll give him this. I will say this: it does take a strong person to survive the segregation of America. Psychologically, I don't want to act like that he doesn't have that depth to him as an individual and as a person. It's the fact as a politician, the way he moves, it's like you are so capable, but you are so duplicitous in your aims because they're so aspirational. You're willing to throw a lot of people under the bus.
Yeah, and that's where my issue comes in, and that's where I would also agree that a lot of people aren't ignorant to what it is they do, but they are quote unquote playing the game. And this is where navigating becomes toxic, because I wouldn't have an issue with Barack Obama if he didn't co-opt other movements like civil rights, if he didn't co-opt other ethnic groups' story when it comes to trying to build his political capital.
I got you.
If he approached politics as the GOP white man that he is, I would not have any issue with Barack Obama. But on one hand, you speak about Elijah Cummings and all of these historic figures. You like to touch on MLK, and you name your book after To the Promised Land or whatever the name of the book is, to play on that. But then you come back to that same community and tell them and misappropriate the fact that they have been put in this situation by the same GOP people that you want to be. Yeah. The same GOP people that you were really raised and cultivated by. Which again, that's all fine and cool, but be there. And this is where I also put onus on the electorate. Obama is a fraud. And he's a fraud in the sense that you play both sides. And people who play both sides are more toxic than any person on the GOP side.
Yeah.
Because we know where they stand. We don't know where you stand because you're willing to do whatever it takes to, as you say, feed your aspiration. And I'm going to go to the next article on the fact that, again, the GOP segue in him and his admiration for Ronald Reagan, who was toxic to the Black community, who Joe Biden pushed more to the right, which we covered in an Intercept article, which we talked about in how he made the GOP more GOP because he wanted to he's a wannabe GOP. And when we talk about that, I think it's important because I think when we see certain things and when we see even a relationship between Michelle Obama and George Bush, again, as innocent as we think that is,
it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
You have to talk about and look at the whole history and timeline of these people's actions, behaviors, policies that they put in place, and how that conflicts with what it is they're saying and putting forward. Because everybody want to condemn Trump, but I would say George Bush is worse than Trump. But let me go ahead and I'm gonna go. Did anybody want to? If anybody want to say anything while I go get this article, go ahead.
For me, his whole statement about the slogan, it's an eye roll. Because anybody who knows a tad bit of history, like, come on now. So the founding fathers say, "Give me liberty or give me death." Their slogan was just BS, according to Barack Obama.
Don't tread on me.
Is that BS according to Barack Obama? Ask not what you can do for your country, but what your country can do for them. Is that also BS according to Barry?
Can do what you can do for your country.
Yes, is that also, that's a slogan. Is that BS according to Barry?
Has it caused people? Because we're gonna get into the article and we talk about and it's gonna talk about what he didn't necessarily want to speak about JFK.
This is buried this news cycle. Like he plays the news cycle. Like you don't know who Barack Obama is because his whole thing is like you're not going to know Barack Obama. Like here's my thing. He did this on David Letterman, right? David Letterman asked him a question and then his posture changed. He did like this and he went to a defensive posture. He did like this. So he was sizing David Letterman question up to see how he was going to answer it. You're not going to know Barry. You know Barry this news cycle, but next news cycle he's going to change.
He's going to hit another jump shot.
He's going to change. He's going to hit another jump shot. He's going to stay on brand, but his message is going to change. He's going to stay on brand. The brand is this money matters. We move with the money.
We have Martha Vineyard.
But the message is going to be you're just not doing it the right way.
Yeah.
That's what he wins. He's the cool uncle.
Yeah.
Tell you. He's a cool dad.
Elizabeth Warren said it out of her mouth. Barack Obama met with more bankers during his administration.
But Elizabeth Warren is a flunky.
I mean, yeah, but she was.
That's her problem.
She don't have no backing.
No. Obama probably called her back out.
She may not even be a flunky. Remember when Hillary lost, she said they voted for their husbands. She was pissed. No, sometimes you gotta go like, nah, son. As a political operative, you like, I don't have the demo for it. I don't have the demographic to make this move. You know, in anything, if it don't make sense, it's martyrdom. And I don't blame anybody for not wanting to be a martyr, son. It's like I'm not dying on this sword for some statue that I can't see because I'm dead. That's the same thing I feel about Barry, but I keep calling him Booker T. Washington, not to undermine him, but Booker T. Washington was very savvy as a political operative.
No, I can understand that, and the only reason I disagree is because, again, to this whole conversation, change don't come with, again, not even models.
I'm not defending.
No,
I don't like
people who are willing to push.
It.
And this is where I also push back on the electorate all of the time. You niggas don't care enough.
It's true.
Because there's people out here saying the right thing and they don't have any backing. And any corporation, any vision, any marketing, any brand takes people.
Support.
Again, as much as I don't necessarily care for the squad, the reason they can't really do what they want to do is because guess what? People only care about politics when it's every 4 years. Because last time I checked, ain't nobody saying nothing else now about Blue MAGA and the silencing of everybody who wishes to challenge anything about Barack Biden or any person associated with that coalition, which is why we're having a conversation now. Everybody pushing back. Like, oh, Barack saying this and that. Shut your ass up. You are with a lot of slogans that we're going to get into a little bit later. But first, we're going to get into your affinity and your bromance with Ronald Reagan, who is toxic.
Bromance is homophobic.
Oh, yeah.
You're supposed to say he just has an erotic thing, but it's not erotic.
It's erotic.
Is it erotic?
Obama's Reagan bromance. The role model. What Obama sees in Reagan. Barack Obama realized long ago that Ronald Reagan was a transformational president who reshaped the nation and its politics. Now, Obama is fashioning his own presidency to follow the Gippers playbook. This is Thursday, January 27th, 2011. In May 2010, Barack Obama invited a small group of presidential historians to the White House for a working supper in the family dining room. It was the second time he'd had a group in since taking office, and as he sat down across from the table, his wife, Michelle, the president, pressed his guest for lessons from his predecessors. But as the conversation progressed, it became clear to several in the room that Obama seemed less interested in talking about Lincoln's team of rivals or Kennedy's Camelot than the accomplishments of a malleable conservative named Ronald Reagan, who had sparked a revolution 3 decades earlier when he arrived in the Oval Office. Obama and Reagan share a number of gifts but virtually no priorities. And as we soon later find out that they do share priorities, they are literally two of the same. The 44th
Wait
president.
a minute. Let's give Ronald Reagan his respect. He is the predecessor. Obama is a copier.
Facts. Mm-hmm. The 44th president regarded the 40th, said one participant, as a vital point of reference. Douglas Brinkley, who edited Reagan's diaries and attended May dinner, left with a clear impression that Obama had found a role model. There are policies and there is persona, and a lot can be told by persona, he says. Obama is approaching the job in Reagan-esque fashion. When Obama stood before Congress, the cabinet, and the American people to deliver his second State of the Union address, both the Reagan persona and policies put in appearances. He proposed to freeze in discretionary spending and federal salaries, and to simplify the tax code and billions in cuts to the defense budget. And he made new calls for bipartisan effort to repair Social Security. Each had these proposed by another third-year president coming off a midterm in a period of high unemployment. Let us, in these next 2 years, men and women of both parties, every political shade, concentrate on long-range bipartisan responsibilities of government. Reagan said in his 1983 State of the Union, not the short range or short term. That's a link. We're not going to go there. At a glance, it's hard to imagine a president who had less in common with Reagan than the Ivy League from Hawaii, who seeks larger federal investments and bigger social safety net and new regulations for Wall Street and big oil. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and stop there a little bit because this goes on and on into 3 pages, but it goes into where we left off around him apparently putting regulations on people and strengthening social programs. And what I would like to say to that is, I think we all know, because we all are living in retrospect, that it didn't happen. None of it happened.
Your face right there was just perfect, like
None of it happened.
that was funny.
None of it happened.
Your
None of it
face was
happened.
pure. Fucking didn't happen. That was
Man.
funny, man.
None of it happened.
He was like, pause. Didn't happen. That was funny. I'm sorry. Because it did happen. You're wrong. Social programs happen for corporations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta stop acting like corporations don't get freaking subsidies. They owe us UBI. We paid for it. You ain't giving it to us for free.
And it's also called My Brother's Keeper. Put some respect on that.
It's not socialism. I'm an investor.
That's a donation-based program.
With my brother's keeper.
Yeah. That isn't necessarily centered in around policy. Great concept.
It is, but with them grants they get, but that's another discussion.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion.
That's off mic.
We talking about slush funds and all kinds of things. But
I like my life. That's funny.
I'll talk about it one day.
One day when I have my own slush fund, because I won't need it. But lawyers will kill you.
With that being said, when we talk about Obama and we talk about too big to fail, which I'm gonna bring up next, because we got a lot of articles tonight. Because these slogans.
We got a lot of articles, but we haven't let anybody in. How many?
They're not. Okay. So,
are there any comments though?
If there are any comments, if anybody want to call in, please do. I'm monitoring it. I see the participants. I see the live link.
You're right about, because you said I wanted to get that in, but I also wanted to get back to your point about how he's uninterested in this party. And how Barry is uninterested at this party, and how Barry is more along the lines of Reagan. And it's because we have to recognize that politicians were once children. And what I love about this, because we're talking about the DNC, we need to stop talking about how Black civil rights leaders become taxidermy inside of the DNC. What I mean by that is that they take out all of the politics of the Black political leader and put the Black political leader face in some sound bites and say, this is who this person was, right? What I mean by that is Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were two separate people. Like, we know towards the end of their life, they both understood that poverty was a major problem in America. Malcolm X understood that white people wasn't the source of the problem, but he understood that that Black people needed to build their own before they integrated, which Zora and Hairston was not too far from, although they're not contemporaries and peers. What I mean is that we have to understand that Barack Obama was raised in America as a child amongst a majority of PWI, predominantly white institutions, and what it means to socialize and develop emotionally amongst that space. So you can intellectualize as much as you want to about who you are and what he does when he starts talking about Black people and what it means to be Black. There's a lot of that is intellectual. A lot of it is intellectual. You can tell it's intellectual because there's no emotional movement. There's really not much emotional movement, especially in his writing. There's not a lot of emotional movement about being Black in his, or I should say, really ADOS in his work. I struggle to understand why so many ADOS, not necessarily the organization, but those who are born of American descendants of slaves, why do they struggle to see that he doesn't necessarily reflect in their aspirations? And I think this is what Dr. Cornel West has been. Descended of a white mother in Hawaii, raised by white grandparents, matters because of the time period in which we're speaking of. The education system and the values that we're speaking of. Because I don't want to place current values into a Barack Obama that was raised before he even knew that he had the idea of becoming a president. We have to humanize our politicians. And so his love for Ronald Reagan makes sense if you're inside of predominantly white institutions in which Ronald Reagan is like this new wave of conservatism after Richard Nixon. There we go. Richard Nixon was impeached. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. It's like he's riding this popular wave up, and that's what he does. He rides popular waves. I don't see Barack Obama making very divisive and definitive, and I would say this, definitive political precedent with his political power, and that's what Frontline also judged him on. It's like, you had the power to do this, why didn't you do it? And that's why I'm confused as to why don't ADOS or American descendants of slaves, why don't people who were here before the 1960s hold him to the flames that we hold our entertainers and our athletes?
I mean, I got a simple answer.
Right.
They want to be him. I want to be like Mike. They want to be like Obama. Plain and simple. Everybody wants to go up there and be the slick talking dude that can woo the room of both the whites and the blacks that can move. I can hit the jump shot with this group, and I can navigate through with this other. Like that's all I see is a dude that's just able to navigate. I don't do much. I just can be in a bunch of rooms and maintain relationships and navigate through, you know what I mean? That is the Black experience, unfortunately, for Black Americans wishing to be more in terms of career, in terms of just well-being. Like, there is no, I can live comfortably without being able to navigate. So the people who understand that, Obama's like the final boss. He's like the master of navigating. He's the master of, I'm going to use Hurricane Katrina to make this grandiose appearance to the main stage. I'm going to use my affiliate with this Black church and this Black pastor that's been in Chicago for eons. It's talking nothing but truth to ADOS community people. And I'm going to use all of these different aspects of ADOS life and ride it all the way to the top. And truth be told, everybody that's navigating wish they would have did what Barack Obama did. They wish it. That's why they love him, because they wish it was them.
That makes sense.
In my opinion, because everything he do is cap, and I'm putting it out there, cap.
I want to see how, let me see. Because I want to see if I can play something I'm doing.
Because they're just coming in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get
I
it
don't trust nobody.
If they don't comment in that, what's called, we're not letting them in.
Yeah, and it say for someone zero, his message retracted. Wonder what that means.
Let me see. Better delete.
You know, coming in that rabbit, we ain't getting no calls like that. Might as well just delete all them joints, bro. Let's continue the discussion with the tape, the sake of the tape.
But yeah, anybody want to respond to that? Because yeah, I feel like it's just been a career of just let's use moments in ADOS history
That's
to just propel my career.
But that's what you see with most And that's the biggest argument that's happening with African migrants, well, immigrants, because they're not migrants, African immigrants of nations that on the continent of Africa are economically impoverished. Let's say this. We have a commissioner in Ward 8 that's recently the first Nigerian elected to Congress in DC, I believe. Whatever. But when you talk about people on the continent of Africa and you talk about people who are Nigerian, they are constantly talking about not necessarily being seen as a Nigerian because of the Berlin Conference. They're talking about being their own independent people. So when you say that Berry uses the ADOS experiences, that's because in America, in an American narrative, there's this true desire for reconciliation between how the British rebels or the founding fathers were able to fund their separation from King George III. And what I mean by that is how they were able to fund the American Revolution outside of the French and German help. So when you have the Jay Treaty after you have the Paris Treaty, I'm speaking of the 18th century.
Beside of me, I never let you see. I keep it caged, but I can't come.
Just don't let nobody in. I'm worried about the recording. I'm not worried about the live no more.
Gotcha.
When you have the Jay Treaty and you see how the Americans were willing to allow, the British rebels were willing to accept German and French help, but then create economic ties with England, which also ties us to the Caribbean, you see how the economic system of America is really tied separately from the moral ideology of America. And so what Berry is able to do is to take his economic understanding of both cultures, of what I would call mainstream America and King's other America, to get away from racial terms. He's able to understand mainstream America. He, by Barack Obama, is able to understand mainstream and other America, King's other America. And he uses that to be politically practical, however you want to use that, play with it however you want. He uses that to be politically practical. And anyone who has the acumen to do that uses that to navigate, because America wants to reconcile, but it does not know how. America wants to reconcile, but how do we reconcile a cast of people who are designed to be exploited? But if we don't exploit them, and we don't exploit them, brown people, women, and so forth, if we don't exploit people, how do we make money? That's America's question. If I don't exploit, how do I make money? Because I want to survive. And that's where I no longer look at this thing as like, oh, is this person against this person? No, it's how do I make money? America was set about poverty. If you think about if we all live under the veil, if you think about what it is we have seen, you will begin to understand America. It's like, oh, now I see why you made that move. Now I see why you did what you did. I get it. It's about the bag. It's about the money. It really is. And once you understand that, you just stop getting upset.
But as we move on,
Mm-hmm.
we will get into some of these slogans. Too Big to Fail is going to be the first.
That was a wild experience.
Mm-hmm.
How many people were over there?
There's a number of them, but it is what it is. So, banks were too big to fail. As we all remember, Barack Obama came in and there was a quote unquote economic crisis as there is every, I feel like, presidential election.
47 years.
47.
Let's go through
There's
this.
an economic crisis, but what exactly does too big to fail mean? I have my ideas about it. I have my own personal stances about what it means to be too big to fail. It goes to what you were talking about in terms of entrenching yourself so much within to the infrastructure of government and the corporations that to undermine you undercuts the whole economy. And like you said, if I can't exploit, how do I make money? And so, Obama, again, what does it mean too big to fail? Because that was a slogan that you stood by. That was a slogan that you used. That was a slogan that you hid behind to bail out Wall Street, to bail out big banks, to bail out predatory lenders, while also allowing homeowners to go under. So what does too big to fail mean? It's a phrase. Again, phrases, slogans, they are being used interchangeably in this conversation because Obama doesn't like phrases or slogans. They are one and the same when it comes to politics. It's a phrase used to describe a company that's so entwined in the global economy that its failure would be catastrophic. Big doesn't refer to the size of the company, but rather its involvement across multiple economies, ecosystems. When we talk about the gig economy, shout out to Antonio Moore, who did a great video on talking about how entrenched they are into multiple economies, whether it be rideshare, whether it be DoorDash, whether it be somebody being able to walk your dogs, whether it being able somebody to be dropping off, whatever it is, just the industry of having servants at your will. That's what being too big to fail constitutes. Jeff Bezos is a great example of being too big to fail because he is entrenched not only in the book market, but he's entrenched in the producer, film industry, information, grocery, pharmacy, all of those different type of things. So this is a slogan, I think, that, brought down the DNC when you talk about them siding with companies that are quote unquote too big to fail, because to your point, those companies are the companies that exploit people. Mm-hmm. Those are the platforms and those are the models that exploit people. So this goes into, how the banks specifically became too big to fail, which we'll get into. The first bank was too big to fail was Bear Stearns. Bear Stearns was a small but very well-known investment bank that was heavily invested in mortgage-backed securities. When the mortgage securities market collapsed, the Federal Reserve lent $30 billion to J.P. Morgan Chase to buy Bear Stearns to alleviate concerns that confidence in other banks would be destroyed. Citigroup, another financial industry giant, had also involved itself in the mortgage security madness. Lehman Brothers, all of these people too. I'll drop the article in the description box. I didn't do it in one immediately, but all of these businesses had some dealing with slavery. Mm-hmm. I'll just say that because they had an article that talked about how all of these different businesses, especially Americans. Let me see. Businesses.
Who are they? Who is they? Who are they? I love that because now grammar people want to figure it out. If you can use they as singular, when it's is and are appropriate.
And just to update it, if you look at Citigroup came out of this whole
Atlanta Blackstock. 15 major corporations you never knew profited from slavery.
Okay, Atlanta Blackstock, got you.
Yep. Firms that were rescued. Then it goes into Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which we know are housing and student loans, respectively, whichever, if you do one or the other or both, they are in your pocket, and those people got bailed out. Get your hands on my pocket. Again, too big. All of these people are too big to fail. And so going back to the conversation about sloganeering is my biggest thing was you stood by a lot of slogans that didn't necessarily work, and a lot of DNC members, a lot of DNC top officials stood by the slogans that don't necessarily sit well with the Democratic base at this point in time. I think those slogans that they stood by were more problematic to defund the police, even though I think defund the police was problematic. Because defund the police turned off the quote unquote white racist voters that Joe Biden went after.
The white racist Joe Biden voters went after.
Yeah.
That's funny. White professionals, basically.
We all know.
A lot of white.
We all know. Like those. I know. I need to get the white racist people. Back from Trump. I'm just saying.
I mean, it is what it is.
I'm thinking about, was it Pat Oswald?
He had to go.
I'm not sure.
No, I'm thinking of Jimmy Dore left the Intercept. It's not Pat Oswald. Oswald is a comedian. You know what I'm talking about. He left the Intercept after he.
Grim. No.
You know what I'm talking about. It don't matter. We're just talking about it. What would you say now?
No, I was just saying he had to go Pennsylvania and all of them places that the Democrats traditionally don't lose.
For whites. It's like you.
But no, not even just poor whites. There are a lot of affluent whites mixing that bunch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that the urban-rural divide, people play on that. The racists play on the urban-rural divide.
Mm-hmm.
Really do. They like to make you believe the only racists are people who are poor, white, inside.
I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree.
That's what I mean by the poor whites, is that just the same way we get bashed, or when I say we, I mean poor blacks. Poor blacks get bashed, poor whites get bashed. That's why King got shot, because he started the poor people's campaign. He started the poor people's campaign. He understood it's like, shit. You know why poor white people don't like black people? Because slavery. And what does slavery really do? It all sets the economic in the labor market. Damn, why do people come here from Europe? Oh, they came here to make money. It was a Virginia company. How many states were carved out of Virginia alone? North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, West Virginia. It was about money. People got to get past this America being this is the land of opportunity. If you can make money, if you can hustle.
But what's the hustle? Exploiting people.
That's what I do.
But this is wrong. It's a republic. This is why education is important.
Hold on, a republic. What are you talking about? I thought this was a democracy.
Yeah, what is this?
It is a democracy, but it's a republic. And a democracy.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you losing me.
This is what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know what you're talking about.
When I say that it is a republic, I mean that the people are represented by members of a quote-unquote elite. Meaning the Senate, when it is derived from, I don't know the word, but it means old men. When you say senators, you're literally saying old men. And you're saying it. It's anglicized. A republic does not reflect directly as a democracy. A democracy is like 1-to-1. Demos is people. Kratos, the origin of power. Demo, Kratos, the origin of power comes from the people. A republic is not that. You don't have that in a republic. What people have to understand, and what you retweeted with Nas, is that we live in a republic. A lot of our principles are based upon Roman ideals. This is another reason why I don't call them founding fathers as much as I call them British rebels. It's like, we gotta understand that at the time in which the Constitution was written, these people were writing seditious speech with the Constitution. They understood that. They understood, it's like, yo, if we don't pull this off, this our ass for real. That's why I give the founding fathers that respect. It takes some gumption to do that. It takes some gumption to go, fuck you. I'm going to start my own. British rebels, King George III, you're not representing us the way we wanted to. Boston Tea Party. fuck this T, son. You not doing what I say do. You not giving me a voice. So when they start the Constitution, because I'm talking about the economic system, in the Articles of Confederation, there was language about slavery being wrong. We gotta understand. There was language about slavery being wrong coming from Thomas Jefferson. Why is it important coming from Thomas Jefferson? Because when we talk about Sally Hemings, we need to talk about James Hemings, who committed suicide when he was a chef. But we need to talk about how Sally was probably a sister to Martha. We need to really talk about that. We need to get into it and start going, oh my God, dead white males. These dead white males started a whole country because they ass was on the line that they did.
And I do you one better.
Go ahead.
Even when you talk about the Boston Tea Party, that birthed the greatest slogan of them all. No taxation without representation. What the hell is Obama talking about? So they cap too? Obama?
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought it up because it's like when
it only birthed a nation, but that's cap according to Bob Rock.
Shit, birth of a nation is another thing. It's like when he's talking about this, it's like, son, you're talking about anti-America, not anti-America as you're anti-patriotic or that you wish any ill harm
you dissent
towards America. It's not even that you dissent, you're anti-America because you want to be contrary. You're contrarian. He's been a contrarian when he calls out sloganeering. He's been a contrarian, but he's pretending not to be a contrarian. He's pretending to be your good dad and you offering you good advice. America, if you look at, this is the truth, and I'm gonna say this. If you look at some of Adolf Hitler's marketing and Barack's,
oh no, definitely,
it overlaps. When you look at that hope, and you look at one of the drinks where Adolf is just his head and Hitler underneath, I'm not making them akin, but I'm saying that he used the same marketing tools and the same marketing ploys. Yeah. If you look at Barack's campaign and you go back and you look at bring up the hope drink, then bring up the Hitler drink with just the head. I'm telling you, it's shocking how close the semblance is. As if almost the people were inspired, but this is two totally different things. What I'm saying is that when Barack starts talking about sloganeering, he's being anti-American in the sense that he's being a contrarian in saying that, oh, this isn't America. We don't get by slogans. It's like, yo, some of our most famous brands are, I'm loving it. I don't have to talk about who I'm talking about. Just do it. America is based upon that.
Slogans. Land of the free, home of the brave. I guess that's cap too, according to Obama.
City on the top of the city there on the hill. It's like, bro, people don't understand it. Just
like, I could go on and on. Give us your pull.
Yeah.
That's cap according to Obama.
But again, because I want to drive home here. Because it's like, oh my God, you're comparing Obama to Hitler. It's like, hold on. Boom. Go back to that hope drink right there. Had that hope drink right there. Let me see this real quick. Come over here real quick. How you got a new tab right here?
Mm-hmm.
Is that new tab? Oh, that one. Boom. This computer's complicated. Why you got me doing this computer? Boom, boom. And they got the images. Keep going. We're gonna have to pull this joint up afterwards. I'm gonna show it to y'all afterwards. And we can just post it up. And we most likely gonna get taken down, especially in Germany. But my whole point is that Obama with the sloganeering thing, because I'm fucking beating a dead horse to a certain point, is like you have to understand he's doing this for the news cycle. He isn't doing this for the long term, because long term, he don't think you give a shit.
And we're gonna get into one last one before we go ahead and
this man over here with the historical slogans and shit.
I'm just saying, like according to Obama, everything is capped.
Trickle down. Going to your man Reagan. Let me see. This is too big to fail. And why trickle-down economics works in theory, but not in fact. And again, trickle-down is something that if you're watching, it's supposed to benefit the electorate. A lot of people don't know what trickle-down is. Both sides, it's a very bipartisan way of governance. In terms of economic policy, I don't see a lot of people who disagree with it on either side. But if you don't know what trickle down policy, I never knew what trickle down politics was until I actually had to really think about it and really go look it up, because trickle down, what is, before we read, what do you think trickle down is?
Trickle down politics is the idea is that if you ease the tax burden of the rich, it frees them to have more discretionary funds that allow for products and services to other people, which eventually will employ them.
What do you think trickle down is?
So trickle down is pretty much expecting, the way I've always understood it, is that you allow the richer or the corporations or the people who benefit the most through their economic prosperity would lead to them creating more jobs within the economy, which would eventually do the, here comes a Barack Obama slogan, be the tide that lifts all boats.
We got slogans for days.
But that's Cap according to him.
That's Cap. With that being said, you would be right. That is the idea of economic trickle-down politics. But with what we have seen in COVID, we have seen the wealthiest in the nation increase their wealth 5 times fold, while the poor gets poorer, and we have child lines of cars lined up across the nation trying to access food and necessities. So something isn't trickling down. I think something is stuck. But before we get into it, trickle down economics is a theory that claims benefits for the wealthy trickle down to everyone else, as you all both eloquently put. It promises they'll use the extra cash from tax cuts to expand businesses, i.e., opportunity zones, the things that Democrats and Republicans support, despite it being a Trump policy. All of this expansion will trickle down to workers. They will spend their wages and drive demand and economic growth. Trickle-down economic theory. Trickle-down economic theory is similar to supply-side economics. That theory states that all tax cuts spur economic growth, which we see doesn't work, doesn't happen. Maybe Obama, that was something that caused people, because people see in retrospect that Ronald Reagan's economic philosophy doesn't work. But you so busy topping them off in his death that can't see that. Maybe it's some of the things that you stand by that cost you, and not defund the police. Yeah, even though defund the police was trash. Trickle-down theory is more specific. It says targeted tax cuts work better than general ones. It advocates cuts to corporations, capital gains. Capital gains. Write that down. Look that up, because that is something that a lot of businesses use and get around a lot of costs as it's subsidized through capital gains. It doesn't promote across the board tax cuts. Instead, the tax cuts go to the wealthy. The benefits trickle down to everyone else. Both trickle down and supply side proponents use the Laffer curve to prove their theories. Author Laffer showed how tax cuts provide a powerful multiplication effect. Over time, they create enough growth to replace governing revenue laws for both the cuts. The result expanded, prosperous economy provides a larger tax base. When trickle-down policies work during the Reagan administration, it seemed like trickle-down economics worked. The administration policies known as Reaganomics helped the 1980 recession. Reagan cut taxes significantly. The top tax rate fell from 70% for those earning $108K or more to 28% for anyone with an income of $18.5K or more. Reagan also cut the corporate tax rate from 46% to 40%. Trickle-down economics was not only the reason for the recovery, though. Reagan also increased government spending by 2.5% a year. He almost tripled the federal debt from $997 billion in 1981 to 2.85 trillion in 1989. Most of the spending went to defense. Understand where the money is going.
That's it. We do that in a month now.
It supported Reagan's effort to end the Cold War and to bring down the Soviet Union. President George Bush used trickle-down policies to address the 2001 recession. Damn, there's so many recessions. How many
It's one every like 10 years.
He cut income taxes with economic growth and tax relief for the Reconciliation Act that ended the recession by November of that year, quote unquote. But the unemployment rose to 6%. That often occurs because unemployment is a lagging indicator. It takes time for companies to stop hiring again, even after a recession is ended. As a result, Bush cut business taxes with the Jobs and Growth Tax Relief Reconciliation Act in 2003. It appeared that tax cuts worked, but at the same time, Federal Reserve lowered the Fed funds rates. It fell from 6% to 1%. And that is where we see, I would say, because right now we're in an economy, we're in an ecosystem where the Fed is holding up the economy.
Yeah.
Paying people. I don't know if people saw the article that came out about, oil hitting a new low, but basically we were paying people to take the oil, essentially. And so it goes down just a little bit quickly before we get into the conversation. Republicans continue to use trickle-down economic theory and guide policy. On December 22nd, 2017, President Trump signed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It cut the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21% beginning in 2018. The top individual tax rate drops to 37%. Trump's tax plan cuts income tax rates, doubles the standard deduction, and eliminates personal exemptions. That's bad for poor niggas. The corporate cuts are permanent, while the individual changes expire at the end of 2025. Tax policy center found that those earnings in the top 1% will receive a larger tax cut percentage than those in lower economic levels. By 2027, those in the lower 20% income levels would pay higher taxes. With that being said, we all know everybody hopped on opportunity zones, from your boy Charlemagne the God, from Muriel Bowser, from most Democratic
Nipsey Hussle.
T.I.
The strip mall.
Yeah, T.I. There are a lot of people who hopped on and support opportunity zones, which are basically, again, subsidies through capital gains and tax cuts, which were administered by Trump, Donald J. Trump, which a lot of people don't like. But what happens in there is, when we talk about slogans, sloganeering, that's a slogan that doesn't work and has been proven to not work over time. So it's not a thing in a matter of sloganeering per se, but in this case, it's a slogan that has been tested. a slogan that has been stood by, again, by the DNC as well as the GOP. So when we talk about those Democratic seats who fell victim in being ousted, a lot of those Democrats stood by the quote unquote, what I would say, archaic political philosophies. And I think when Obama comes out and says that, I think it's very intellectually dishonest because yes, defund the police may have been bad, but when you talk about all of the other things that the Democratic Party has stood by, it's also problematic. It just adds on to the problem of defund the police. It adds on to the vagueness of defund the police because trickle down is vague, war on drugs is vague. All of these slogans don't really speak to specificity, don't really help the average member of the electorate understand what it is that's being said. But you come out and you bash one and you protect the others, and you protect not only the GOP, but the legacy of the GOP when you talk about Ronald Reagan and Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is the legacy of the GOP. Let's not ever get it twisted.
Yeah, and I think you want better. The very fact that you can bash a Donald J. Trump, right? Mm-hmm. But in the same election cycle, have everybody in the country endorse a Michael Bloomberg. How is that progressive Democrat at work? How are you a progressive Democrat when you bash Donald Trump, but you allow Michael Bloomberg and all his NDAs, he got like 1 million of them, to come in and run roughshod?
Here's how, right? The DNC loves playing the benevolent guardian. They like to believe that if you just give me the responsibility, I'll take care of you. That's even like the censorship. What I'm hearing throughout this pod is that basically Barack is Marie Antoinette in the 20th century. The archetype of, or the stereotype of Marie Antoinette was basically let them eat cake. Although she never said that, but it's like, let them eat cake. That's his favorite slogan. It's like, let them eat cake. If Barack had a favorite slogan, like, let them eat cake. Is that what y'all saying? Barack is like, it's like, let them eat cake. I like my fancy wigs. Let them eat cake. Cool.
Carla, appease them.
Because, again, it's corporatism. And again, you know me. He is a corporate lawyer by training. Michelle and Barack met when they were corporate lawyers. They didn't meet when they wanted to come up as people who were just trying to make their way. Why is that important? They had social capital. They had networks. If you network your way into a corporate job, you have networks. Mm-hmm. And what's important, again, about not seeing Barack Obama as this token or this ideal way to be Black and not allowing his voice to dominate what Blackness is or define Blackness or be a definitive way of being Black, by saying this is just one example. If you have the same social capital, the same access, and the talents that he has, you can potentially become president. But the typical American Black child or the typical child in America does not have the same trajectory as Barack Obama. That said, that was a lot. But that said, it's like when I hear all of these things, I hear the trickle down, and we're getting into that, as someone once said to me, the left wing and the right wing are wings of the same bird. Mm-hmm. The idea that you protesting a action or a symptom, because this is what protesting Donald Trump is, a symptom. You protesting a symptom of an economic system changes the economic system. It does not. And like I said, I don't have a problem with corporatism, because corporatism in of itself is a group of people working together. at the very base, I'm a philosophical person. It's never the idea, it's how the idea is being implemented. Because the idea in itself is benign. Except for a few. But then most ideas are benign. What I mean by that is that Barack is speaking from a corporate DNC. If you don't have capital, and what I mean by capital, assets that are outside of your income, if you don't have a positive network, America's not for you anymore. You can't, the social open mobility isn't there.
No.
Because you just literally can't afford to buy in. Someone has to pay for your way in. That's why I keep talking about helicopter parents, lawnmower parents, being boomer hook. The electorate needs to understand, and why I'll keep driving this home. The electorate needs to understand when you see Barack Obama, you see a rich man. That's like Dave Chappelle said in his special. I don't know why poor whites are voting for Trump. He's protecting me. They need to think the same thing about Barack Obama. I don't know why you voting for these policies, because they protect the rich, not everyone. But what Barack is able to do, the same way I said about the AOC and everything else, is that they're able to assuage, pacify, and quiet people's protests, because it's like, oh, if this person's in office, because of the history that their people have had, obviously they're going to care about everyone. It's like, no. How we got here is that somebody looked like me and was like, all right, I'll sell this man, I'll sell this woman, I'll sell this child. You got some glass beads? I need that shit. It's like, we got to acknowledge that. And once you acknowledge that Africa is no Camelot and that Europe is not a perfect union, you begin to understand that you need to protect yourself intellectually. And then that's the only way to defeat a demagogue on the left, because that's what he is. He's a demagogue on the left. He's appealing to people being elite and wanting to be elite. It's a demagogue, because being an elite is a feeling. It's not a thing that is verifiable. And that's how I feel about it.
Oh, that's all good. With that being said, man, I think we're going to end the show tonight. We appreciate everybody for coming out. All good words. I would hope that more people will call in. We done got spam bomb.
Zoom bomb again.
It's all we'll figure out a way to get it better, get it up and get it moving. But with that being said, if you are watching, like the video, share the video, comment. And again, man, if you watch, don't feel intimidated by
anything.
Any of it. I don't necessarily really care. For the most part, it's not necessarily a joke to me, but at the same time, it's not serious to the point where I'm gonna chop your head off. But thank you everybody for watching. But this is another episode of Eavesdrop. And we're gonna catch y'all next weekend again. Deuces, much love, be safe, peace, stay COVID free, and we're gonna catch y'all next time.